Boys and girls, we're ready to start today, and we're excited because we're going to continue talking about multiplication today. In fact, you can look at our standard today. It says that we're going to use repeated addition, arrays, and counting by multiples to correctly add one-digit numbers and construct the multiplication table. Now, that's a big standard. First of all, what is a standard? Raise your hand if you can tell me. What does that mean when I tell you that we're going to talk about our standard? Ethan, what is our standard?
A standard is what you're on focus on for the next week, month, or however long.
Exactly. And that's the standard that we're going to focus on today. And we've actually been talking about this for a few days, haven't we? So today we're going to focus on this part right here, the arrays. What is an array? Someone raise your hand and tell me. Emily, what's an array?
It's like you have columns and rows, and it helps you to count your things.
Exactly. We can use that for multiplication. And this was a slide we talked about a few days ago, and we said that arrays are everywhere. And people use arrays, don't they, to help them to organize things and to help them to count. What were some places that we talked about that we might see arrays in real life? Madeline, where might we see arrays?
I can see them at the symphony.
That's right. We might see arrays at the symphony. How would we see an array at the symphony?
Like the seats are in rows, and then they're going down.
That's right, and they're going down in columns. Excellent. Kraylin, where else might we see arrays?
You might see arrays at movie theaters.
Oh, you're right. The rows would be, or the seats that you sit in at the movie theaters would be in an array. And can you explain that for me a little bit more, too?
Because the seat goes straight across, and then they go this way because a lot of people are coming there to see movies.
That's true, they would. Brandon, can you give us one more array that you might see?
The number chart is an array.
Oh, that's right. Our hundreds number chart is an array, isn't it? Can you describe how that's an array?
Because I think it has 10 rows and it has 10 columns.
You're exactly right. And so how many total do we have on our 100?
100.
You're right. And that's a multiplication problem, Brandon. Do you know what multiplication problem that would be?
10 times 10 equals 100.
That's right. And why is it 10 times 10?
Because
You just told me about the rows and the columns. Can you explain that again?
because you can count by 10 from, like, you go 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on. Then you can go across, count by 10s, like, you go 10, then go 20.
And that would be using our skip counting to help us, wouldn't it? Excellent. Well, let's put hands down and let's just review a little bit more about arrays. We know that it is made up of rows. Several of you told me that. And rows are horizontal. That means that they go from left to right or from right to left. And here were some things that we said, and some of them you guys have already said. We know that at the symphony that we went to, we had our rows and our columns where the people would sit. We talked about corn cobs, how the corn is in rows, isn't it? And it goes across. Mackenzie, what did you want to say?
Our graph is in rows.
That's right. It is an array, isn't it? It has rows and columns. And then also, we said it has columns, and columns are vertical. What does it mean if something's vertical? Eric, what does it mean?
They go up and down.
It goes up and down, that's right. And here are some columns. And when did you guys use columns before? You've talked about columns this year. Morrison?
In art.
In art, that's right. You decorated columns, didn't you? So you know that they go up and down, don't they? Well, today we're going to read a book, and I'm going to skip past that slide. We're going to read a book, and it's all about arrays. And it's about these bugs, and they have a queen bug. And in the book, the queen loves the little bugs to be in parades. And they march in different arrays. How many of you have ever been to a parade before? So lots of us. How many of you have seen a band march in a parade? Did you know that they march in an array shape most of the time? They march in their rows and their columns. Now, one thing, yes, Marcos?
I think I have connected to that book.
Okay, what?
I remember some 100, but it was like 100 ants in a row.
That's right.
And they were going to a picnic, but when they got there was no more food.
Oh no, that is a good connection. Well, we'll see as we're reading it if it's similar to it. But in this book, the queen wants the bugs to march in a perfect array. Now, what do we know about arrays? Can we have mismatches of the rows and the columns? Brendan, what do we know about arrays?
That they can't just be, they have to be in a straight line, because if they're just mixed up, it wouldn't be an array.
Okay, can someone give me some more information about that too? More about what I mean with arrays? Eric? What do we know about their Think about their rows and columns. Can they have different amounts in the rows? Emily?
Like an array, it means that it can't like have different amounts in certain rows. It has to be exactly even in each row and each column.
In the task that we are about to do. Are you ready to hear it? It's very fun. Okay, so listen very carefully. And if you need to close your eyes to think about this really carefully, you can, okay? This is going to be a task about a queen of the Bethlehem ant colony. So imagine that out on the playground, there's a little ant colony, and it's the Bethlehem ant colony. And there's a queen. And she has 16 ants in her army. How many does she have?
16.
That's right. In the book, they had 25, but how many does the Bethlehem ant colony have?
16.
Okay, now this is what the queen likes. She loves to have the soldiers march in parades. The only thing that's different about this queen is that sometimes she does not want all the soldiers to march in the parade. If you want to open your eyes now so you can listen, you can do that. Sometimes she likes to have some of the ants do things like guarding the gate, or sometimes she likes to have them working in the cafeteria fixing food. But total, she could have 16 in her parade. But sometimes, Noah, she doesn't want that many. Sometimes she just wants a few, okay? So what your job is to find out some different arrangements that the queen could have of the different ants in her parade. And here's some of the things you're going to get to help you. First of all, you're going to get to choose some manipulatives, and I pulled out some of the things that I thought you might want to use. I have pop cubes, I have square tiles, and I have some counters, okay? So you can think about how many that you want to use. Then you're going to have two things. You're going to have a piece of paper, and on this piece of paper, after you make the arrays with your manipulatives, I want you to draw them on your piece of paper and write a number sentence, okay? Then you're going to record the number sentence or the equation onto this chart. So remember, I told you that she has 16 ants in her colony, but she doesn't always want them all to march. Sometimes she might only want 4 to march. So what are some arrays that she could come up with to let 4 march? You want to, maybe we'll do this one together. Ethan, what are some that she could come up with?
Maybe you could do.
Let's say she had these 4. What were some arrays that she could do?
She could do it like that, or she could do it like this. Bring one down. And then bring this one down.
That's true. And what would this arrangement be, guys? What equation will we say for this?
2 times 2 equals 4.
There you go. You got it. We have 2 rows and 2 columns, so that's 4. And I left out a very important detail. This ant queen is very picky, very picky. And she has 2 things. First of all, she does not like having any less than 4 in a parade. So she doesn't want 3. Does she want 2?
No.
Does she want 1?
No.
The other thing is she does not like single file lines. So she doesn't like anything to have 1 row or 1 column. It has to have more. Think about when we walk to lunch or to specials. What do we walk in? What kind of a line? One behind the other. So like if I were to put these ants like this and make it a 1 by 4, she does not like that. So you can't do that. It has to be something other than a single file. So you're going to make it with your manipulatives first, draw it on your paper, and write an equation or number sentence. And then on this paper, I want you just to record your number sentence, okay? Do you think that some numbers, there might be more than 1 array you could make?
Yeah.
We've discovered that with a few numbers, haven't we? So think about that as you're working and see what different ways you and your friends can find, okay? Are there any questions about what you are expected to do?
Ants. And then
What would that array be?
it would be like 4 times 6 equals 10.
How many rows do you have?
We have 2 rows.
That's 2 rows.
2 columns.
And so what would that number sentence be?
It would be 4 times.
How many rows did you say that there were?
I said 2 rows. 2 rows. 2 times 8.
Madeline, use your picture to help you. Think about your rows. How many rows did you tell me times how
2
many?
times 8.
Madeline, look at your column. First, look at your rows. Count your rows. Rows go which way? That way, okay? So count your rows for me. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, so what would your first number be?
5.
5. Marcus, are you helping? Are you thinking about this?
5 times 5.
Okay, write your first number down.
5.
But now, Marcos, how many columns? You tell me about that.
There are like 5 columns.
5 columns?
5 columns.
What do columns do? Columns are vertical, up and down. So how many do we have that are vertical?
5.
Count them. Look and count them. Show me. Don't count each one. Go. 1, 2. How many columns do we have? 2. So yours would be what? There you go. So there's your first one. Now decide, pick a different number of ants. Or you could try to find a different way that this could do. Okay, that's a good idea actually. Draw it first and write your number sentence. It's a good idea.
7, 8.
Christopher, how many ants would you like to start with?
4.
Okay, you're going to start with 4. So can you find...
That's 5 columns. And 1, 2. Could we do that? Because
Well,
it has 5.
Which one are you working on?
5.
With the number. Okay, you're working with 5 manipulatives.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have 5 manipulatives?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do you have 5 manipulatives?
No.
Okay. So, but you do right here. So what did you decide about that one?
That's an oddball.
Okay, it's an oddball. I like that. It's an oddball. Okay, so what do you want to put down on your chart then?
Nothing.
Okay,
Let's just skip down and go to the 6th one.
sounds like a plan.
Good idea. Which idea?
Okay, let's go to 6 and see what happens.
Okay.
Good work. Good work, mathematicians.
We got 3. Wait. I got 4.
Now we're only supposed to be using
What did you
6
guys
for
decide
this.
to start with?
Yeah, sorry.
Which number?
So what is it? Possible.
Okay, you're going to start by having 6 ants, okay? So why don't you two together take your 6 ants and see what different arrangements that you can find, and remember you're going to record it here, see what are some different arrays that you can find. I'm going to walk to that side of the room, and when I come back I want to see some arrays that you've drawn on this, but do you need them though?
Plus.
Because how many ants did you tell me you wanted to start with? So when I come back to you, I want to see, Christopher, an array drawn on here that shows me an array you can make with your 6 ants. Can you show me something that you found?
First one was 2 times 2.
Okay, show me on your paper and explain to me what you have.
I had 2 rows and 2 columns. 4 for the first number.
Did you make sure to record this on your paper as well? To record your equation?
And I'm gonna do the one for 5.
Okay. Marson, can you tell me what you found over here?
There are no ones for 5 because it's an oddball.
You think? You couldn't figure anything out for 5?
I found one.
If you couldn't figure anything out for 5, you can always put no beside it. Some may not have one. Okay. And some may have more than one way, right?
I found one for 5.
With only one that had 5 ants and you found an arrangement?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How many ants would you have right there though?
10.
That would be 10. So yours would be your answer for 10, right? Yeah. Can you explain this number sentence to me or your equation?
I have 1 row and 2 columns.
Oh, that's okay. Let me come over.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 rows
Oh, how do rows go? Rows go.
down. Up and down.
Columns go up and down. Think about the columns that you made in art. Remember how they go up and down? And then the rows go across, like at the movie theater. So look at your rows that go across. How many rows? So what does your first number need to be?
2.
Okay, so do you want to change that? And then how many columns do you have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There you go. This is an excellent picture. I love how you guys are drawing the picture and writing the number sentence on here. Make sure that you record it onto here. And Abby, I think that she's changed her mind about her equation for 10. Marson, can you explain to her how you've changed your mind for your equation for 10?
I had 2 times 5 equals 10, and I had 2 columns and 5 rows.
Excellent. Nice job. How's it going over here, guys? What are we finding? Oh, can you explain one that you found to me, Javion?
I found 2 times 5 equals 2.
Tell me about this. How many rows do you have?
2.
2. Ooh, what goes first? What are our rows? Do you remember which way our rows go?
Down.
Oh, columns go down. Remember the columns that you made in art? How they were tall and then they go down? So our columns are the ones that go down. But what about our rows? How do rows?
3.
They go across, don't they? So how many do we have going across? Count them. Show me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ah, so what would that equation actually be for that array?
2 times 5 equals 5.
Now, that would be correct if it were to switch. Like, let's say you had this one right here, Javion, and you had, and I switched it like this, and I had 2 rows and 5 columns. That one would match it because remember, rows go first. Remember the baby crawls first, and then it stands? But with this one, how many rows did you tell me that we had?
2.
Count them again for me. 1.
5.
So what number has to go first on this one?
4.
What did you just count for me? What did you just count? 5. That's actually 5 rows, isn't it? So 5 would go first. And then how many columns did you have? We don't count each one individually. Remember, just count the number of columns.
5.
Count your columns for me. Columns go up and down, right? Show me you're counting your columns.
3, 4, 5.
Show me that you're counting your columns. Ready? Muhammad, can you help your friend and show him counting the columns?
Columns. This is the columns.
Okay.
So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Think about, okay, those are our rows, but our columns go up and down, remember? How many columns? 1,
2.
2. So it would be 5 rows times 2 columns, right? But Muhammad, let's look at this. Would there be some way that you can finish writing that, Javion?
4.
Do you think you found every single way?
Yes. We worked together in a group of 4.
Ah, that's a good strategy.
But look,
Okay, so show me something that
out
you've
that all
discovered.
the oddballs you cannot do because they have an oddball. Like
Think?
5. Like 5, see?
Ah.
Yeah, I was trying to discover something for 5, but then I go, and 7, see?
So 5 and 7. So you've made the prediction that all odd numbers. I'm going to ask you this, though. Try 9. What about 9? Do you think there's an array that you could make that the product would be 9?
Can I go throw these away?
Yes. see.
Play with trash can.
Okay.
See if you can do it.
Be right back.
I think that Eric has a runny nose.
We both have runny noses, don't we?
9.
Okay, Jennifer says, well, that way doesn't work.
My head hurts.
We tried doing five times 5.
I got one. 5 rows and
Ethan.
5 columns.
Look what she has found.
9. I know a number. Don't tell me that's a
Eric,
number.
look. What did we find? Carrie, what did they find?
That they
So
have
really
3
9
rows
is an even
and
number?
3 columns and 3 rows.
That's right. So do
So it's 3 times 3.
so I love that you guys were making that prediction and using that to help you. But are there some odd numbers that can make an array?
Yes.
It seems that there are, aren't they? That would be something that I bet the rest of the class would benefit from you guys sharing, you and Jennifer. I want you to tell them about
But then
what your prediction was at first. Yeah.
And 2 helped us too.
That might be a lot of people though if all 4 of you were up there, but I bet they can raise their hand and they could probably give some good comments, don't you think? But maybe you guys, Jennifer, you could tell about what you predicted at first and then what you ended up discovering. So maybe that means you better go back and check. Eric, what do you think? You better check 11 and you better check 15 too to see if those, some of them might follow your rule, but some of them might be different. See what you can find.
Figure out what to do for the odd numbers.
We have had some confusion with the odd numbers. So what are you thinking right now?
7?
Yes, 7.
That.
Oh, no, wait, we already tried that and we can't do that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So if sometimes you might not be able to do it and you can put no, but then maybe some that it could work, you think?
No.
Why don't you try it out? Show me a few. Show me an odd number and see what you can figure out.
Well, 7.
4 times 7 times 7. 14. This is
7 times 7 equals 14.
7 times 2.
Use your manipulatives. Pick an odd number and see if you can arrange it.
Hang on, Christopher, hang on.
I just want to draw
Did we already do
what's
7?
the answer to
This is
4 times
7 times
2.
We're not there's not much. Oh, are we doing the answer?
Right, you'd be doing the product.
I'll just
How about this one? So let's try 1, 2, 3, 7 and see what we get.
Erase that one.
And that has pears. So it has to be. All good ingredients have to have pears.
How many dots did you draw? Draw it out one more time for us, real quick.
I just wanted to do it faster.
That's okay. So that's 2, 4. Can we count with them? 6. 6. That might be a good one that we could continue to work with and explore and think about. Madeline, did you see something interesting that you wanted to show them?
Yeah, but that isn't right because you have to put, that's not 3 rows, that's 2 rows. So you have to add 3 more to equal 6.
Double check that. Look at what array you just made.
I'm good.
Watch what she's thinking. How many rows do you want to have, Madeline?
1, 2, 3.
But how many columns do you need?
3 rows.
And how many columns?
3, 6. So, oh, yeah. I see.
Okay, you can fix it.
36.
And look at that.
See? We don't need the bottom row because we have 6 rows there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I saw that. That's not. Oh, I think that's 3 rows. Because you said our array was wrong? Yeah, because you said 3 rows.
I didn't say.
Is there some way you could
You
flip
said
it,
3
guys?
rows.
Madeline, look and think. Is there a way that you could flip it? Uh-oh. It's okay. Wait just a second. Wait, guys. All right, put all the pieces up. Put the pieces up. Okay. Was there a way that you could flip it where it would work? The way with the 3 rows. Remember with our rows, guys. Okay. Only one person can touch the things at a time, guys.
Madeline, why don't you sit down?
Yeah. Madeline can have a
problem.
seat back.
You do this.
You're okay.
I know what she's
So Jennifer, did you figure out the only thing? Right. She just meant to fix. Ethan, you accidentally had 2 rows and 3 columns. She just meant to flip them the other way. No, that was fine. It's good because a lot of people were still doing. That's right. It does, depending on which goes first. Because what goes first?
Oh, still be the same answer.
That's
but
right.
babies do crawl first before they walk.
Awesome. This group made lots of interesting discoveries, and they let us even look at different things and ask them questions. They definitely deserve some praise. What would you guys like us to do for you? Jennifer, what would you like? Spirit hands, remember? And stop. All right, we have one last group that's going to come up and share, Emily and Brandon, that's just going to talk for a little bit about something that they discovered, and then we'll be just about finished for today.